The blame game and politics over the Prime Minister's security breach is still raging, with both the centre and the Punjab government engaged in a bitter war of words. India Today's special investigation team decided to dig for the truth. Were intelligence inputs ignored? Did the Punjab Police fail to act? Our reporters Mohammad Hizbullah and Nitin Jain tracked down the very cops who were on duty in Ferozepur. This is what they've revealed in this India Today special investigation, Operation Breach.
The Prime Minister's security breach on January 5th has sparked a huge political storm. With multiple versions of what happened, it is now the subject of a top-level Supreme Court-monitored inquiry. India Today visits Ground Zero to speak with the principal characters of that day. Beyond the political war, as India hopes for answers. India Today's special investigation team is about to uncover a series of twists. Possible answers to questions from the ground that add unsettling color to a disturbing breach. Take a deep breath, sit back, and let's take you straight to the site of the incident. Our first stop. India Today's undercover reporters first meet Ferozepur's Deputy Superintendent of Police, Sukhdev Singh, a crucial law enforcement official in this sensitive area. Since it is close to the border, is prone to smuggling and cross-border terrorist activity. The question was simple. How did the state intelligence units fail to foresee what happened before the Prime Minister's scheduled rally? Listen to him declare clearly that the police was fully in the picture about the protest blockade.
They can also jam Harike head workers PS Maku, Ferozepur Moga Road, Ferozepur Jira Road, Ferozepur Fajalka Road to deny the workers of BJP to reach venue of rally at Ferozepur. रोकन वास्ते लोन के। ये आपने एडवांस में उनको बताया? एडवांस 2 तारीख को। फिर उसको बाद भी बताते रहे आ DC SSP ਨੂੰ AIG ਸਾਡੇ 1 ਹੈ ਚੰਡੀਗੜ੍ਹ AIG 2 3 ਆ ਤੇ ਇਹ ਇਥੇ ਜੋਨਲ ਸਾਡੇ ਫਿਰੋਜ਼ਪੁਰ ਪੈਂਦੇ AIG ਸਾਹਿਬ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਇਹੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਭੇਜੀ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ ਲਿਖ ਕੇ ਆਵੇ ਉਹੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਆ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਵਿੱਚ ਲਿਖ ਕੇ ਕਿ ਦੇ ਵਿਲ ਟਰਾਈ ਟੂ ਹਾਂ 1400 1500 ਵਰਕਰ ਉਹ ਇੱਥੇ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਹੋਣੇ ਆ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਦੇ ਵਿਲ ਟਰਾਈ ਟੂ ਇੰਟਰ ਦਾ ਪੰਡਾਲ ਇਫ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਵਿਲ ਨਾਟ ਅਲਾਉ them ਟੂ ਇੰਟਰ ਦਾ ਪੰਡਾਲ ਦੈਨ ਦੇ ਵਿਲ ਹੋਲਡ ਧਰਨਾ ਔਨ ਦਾ ਰੋਡ They can also jam Harike head workers PS Maku, Ferozepur Moga Road, Ferozepur Jira Road, Ferozepur Fajalka Road to deny the worker of BJP reach venue of the.
ये किसान मजदूर संघर्ष कमेटी के लिए आपने
नहीं तुम दास्ता ना ये सारे वास्ते ही है इधर आ विच लिखा है इधर BKU क्रांतिकारी फूड ग्रुप.
What you have just heard is a senior police official from the very area of the Prime Minister's security breach, disclosing in no uncertain terms that intelligence inputs had painted a clear picture about the planned dharna. But wait, this is only the beginning.
A video of Baldev Singh Jira, General Secretary Punjab BKU Krantikari Food Group, went viral on social media. In this video, Baldev Singh Jira said that in connection with the visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Ferozepur on dated 5, the police is planning to raid the house of the union leader so that the anti-Modi program could be averted by the arresting the
What appears confirmed at this stage is that advance intelligence was shared with all authorities who had been mandated with the Prime Minister's route security in Ferozepur a full 3 days earlier. But the obvious next question we ask is how did the protesters get to emerge onto the route if the police already knew about their plans.
ये लोग एकदम से सड़क पे कैसे आ गए सर?
ਸੜਕ ਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਹੀ ਸੀਗਾ ਸੜਕ ਤੇ ਆਉਣ ਦਾ।
अच्छा
ਹਾਂ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਐਡਵਾਂਸ ਹੀ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਸੀਗਾ। ਤਾਂ ਪਲੈਨਿੰਗ ਸੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬਲਦੇਵ ਸਿੰਘ ਆ ਜੀਰੇ ਵਾਲਾ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਪਲੈਨਿੰਗ ਸੀਗਾ ਵੀ ਉੱਥੇ ਦਾਣਾ ਮੰਡੀ ਫਿਰੋਜ਼ਸ਼ਾਹ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਹੋਣਾ। ਜਦੋਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਐਸਐਸਪੀ ਨੂੰ ਦੱਸ ਦਿੱਤਾ। ਜਦੋਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਚੱਲ ਪਏ ਐਸਐਸਪੀ ਨੂੰ ਦੱਸ ਦਿੱਤਾ। ਜਦੋਂ ਫਿਰੋਜ਼ਸ਼ਾਹ ਵਾਲਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸੜਕ ਤੇ ਨਾਕਾ ਲੱਗਾ ਸੀਗਾ, ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹ ਨਾ ਤੋੜ ਕੇ ਕ੍ਰਾਸ ਕੀਤਾ ਐਸਐਸਪੀ ਨੂੰ ਦੱਸ ਦਿੱਤਾ। ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਵੀ ਹੁਣ ਇੱਥੋਂ ਤੱਕ ਪਹੁੰਚ ਗਏ। ਜਦੋਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਪਹੁੰਚ ਕੇ ਧਰਨਾ ਲਾ ਦਿੱਤਾ, ਉਹ ਵੀ ਐਸਐਸਪੀ ਨੂੰ ਦੱਸ ਦਿੱਤਾ। ਇੰਟੈਲੀਜੈਂਸ ਨੇ ਐਡਵਾਂਸ ਦੱਸਣਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਤੇ ਫਿਰ 2 ਤਰੀਕ ਨੂੰ 3 ਤਰੀਕ ਨੂੰ 4 ਤਰੀਕ ਨੂੰ ਡੀਸੀ ਐਸਐਸਪੀ ਇੱਥੇ ਇੱਕ ਸਿਕਿਉਰਿਟੀ ਏਡੀਜੀਪੀ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਆਏ ਹੋਏ ਸੀਗੇ ਨਗੇਸ਼ਵਰ ਰਾਓ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਆਪ ਮਿਲ ਕੇ ਲੈਟਰ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਵੀ ਆ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆ ਇੱਥੇ ਆ ਕੁਛ ਹੋਣਾ, ਸਾਡੀਆਂ ਸੜਕਾਂ ਬਲੌਕ ਹੋਣੀਆਂ। ਇਹ ਸੜਕ ਵੀ ਬਲੌਕ ਆ, ਜੀਰਾ ਰੋਡ ਵੀ ਬਲੌਕ ਆ ਤੇ ਫਾਜ਼ਿਲਕਾ ਰੋਡ ਵੀ ਬਲੌਕ ਆ।
On the day of the rally too, the State Intelligence Department had activated its informers and was keeping a hawk's eye on the situation. Intelligence inputs flowed thick and fast about intended disruptions to the Prime Minister's route and rally. The SPG plan shared ahead with the state authorities had clearly mentioned that if the Prime Minister needed to ditch his helicopter for a road trip owing to bad weather, then the entire route needed to be sealed and sanitized. But that clearly did not happen. The burning question with all these alarm bells ringing in real time, how were the Kisan Union crowds being permitted to assemble even as the Prime Minister departed Bhatinda to make his way to Ferozepur by road? Every single detail was being relayed in real time to the police and state government over phone and WhatsApp. DSP Sukhdev doesn't just tell us. He actually shows us the messages on his phone.
11:45 ਤੋਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਆ ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਇਹ ਮੋਗਾ ਰੋਡ ਵੱਲ ਨੂੰ ਮੂਵ ਕਰਨਗੇ। ਮੈਂ 12:07 ਤੇ ਭੇਜਿਆ ਨਾ ਮੈਸੇਜ। ਇਹ ਕਿਤੇ ਕਿਧਰ ਮੈਂ ਪੜਿਆ ਨਹੀਂਗਾ, ਜੇ ਪੜਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਫੋਨ ਕਰਕੇ ਦੱਸਦਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਐਸਐਸਪੀ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਪੜਿਆ ਉਹਨੇ ਕਿੰਨੇ ਵਜੇ। 12:07 ਤੇ ਡਿਲੀਵਰ ਹੋਇਆ, 12:07 ਤੇ ਉਹਨੇ ਸੀਨ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ। 12:20 PM 225 ਵਰਕਰ ਆਫ ਬੀਕੇ ਕ੍ਰਾਂਤੀਕਾਰੀ ਫੂਡ ਗਰੁੱਪ ਅੰਦਰ ਬਲਦੇਵ ਸਿੰਘ ਨਾਣਾ ਜੀਰਾ ਸਟੇਟ ਜਨਰਲ ਸੈਕਟਰੀ ਹੈਵ ਬ੍ਰੋਕਨ ਦਾ ਬੈਰੀਗੇਟ ਆਫ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਐਟ ਵਿਲਸ ਫਿਰੋਜ਼ਸ਼ਾਹ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ 12:20 ਤੇ ਬੈਰੀਅਰ ਤੋੜ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਫਿਰੋਜ਼ਸ਼ਾਹ ਵਾਲੇ ਤੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਇੰਟਰ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਤੇ ਰੈਲੀ ਨੂੰ ਇਧਰੋਂ ਚੱਲ ਪਏ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮੂਵ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ। ਜਿਹੜਾ ਟੋਲ ਪਲਾਜ਼ਾ ਫਿਰੋਜ਼ਸ਼ਾਹ ਵਾਲਾ ਉਰਲੇ ਪਾਸੇ ਲੱਗਾ ਹੋਇਆ ਵੀ ਇਧਰ ਨੂੰ ਆ ਰਹੇ ਆ
और उसी रूट से पीएम आ रहा है।
ਉਸੇ ਰੂਟ ਤੇ ਪੀਐਮ ਆ ਰਿਹਾ। ਅੱਛਾ 12:32 ਤੇ ਹੈਨਾ ਇਹਨੇ ਸੀਨ ਵੀ 12:32 ਤੇ ਉਸੇ ਵਕਤ ਹੀ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ।
What you're listening to is sharp testimony about real-time intelligence. Information that should have led to the blockade being preempted and the road being cleared for India's Prime Minister. The conversation goes deeper.
12:50 ਜਦੋਂ ਮੋਦੀ ਆ ਉੱਤੇ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਅਲਰਟ ਅਰਜੈਂਟ। ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਨਾ ਐਸਐਸਪੀ ਬਠਿੰਡੇ ਦਾ ਫੋਨ ਆਇਆ ਵੀ ਸੁਖਦੇਵ ਸਿੰਘ ਇੱਧਰ ਤਲਵੰਡੀ ਪਹੁੰਚ ਗਏ, ਤਲਵੰਡੀ ਦੇ ਇੱਧਰ ਆ ਗਏ ਆ ਨੇੜੇ ਤੇੜੇ ਇੱਧਰ ਤੇ ਕੋਈ ਜਾਮ ਤਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਗਾ ਹੋਇਆ। ਮੈਂ ਸਰ ਉੱਥੇ ਜਾਮ ਲੱਗਾ ਹੋਇਆ, ਮੈਂ ਐਸਐਸਪੀ ਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਮਰ ਕੇ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਭਾਈ ਦਾ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਹੀ ਤਾਂ ਲਾਗੇ ਆ ਗਏ, ਇੱਥੇ ਪ੍ਰਧਾਨ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਲਾਗੇ ਆ ਗਿਆ। ਮੈਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਦਾ ਜਾਮ ਆ ਪਿਆਰਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਪੁਲ ਦੇ ਆ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਰੰਤ ਅਲਰਟ ਜਾਰੀ ਕੀਤਾ। ਅਲਰਟ ਅਰਜੈਂਟ VVI ਰੂਟ हैज बीन ब्लॉक्ड बाय फार्मर। अजय तो पीएम आया नहीं सी इत्थे।
अच्छा अभी आना था उसको।
अभी आना था।
In other words, from 3 days before the Prime Minister's arrival, well before the decision to take the road route, right up till 7 minutes before his convoy pulled into Ferozepur, Punjab Police authorities had been fully in the picture about all contingencies. But it is the final hours before the breach that are crucial.
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣਾ 12:45 ਤੇ ਮੈਸੇਜ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਵੀ 225 ਵਰਕਰ ਬਲਦੇਵ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀਰਾ ਦੀ ਅਗਵਾਈ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਥੇ ਪੁਲ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਬੈਠ ਗਏ ਆ। VVIP ਰੂਟ ਉਹਨੇ ਬਲੌਕ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤਾ।
ये आपने एसएसपी को बताया?
SSP को बताया ਨਾ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਅਫਸਰ ਨੂੰ ਕੱਲਾ SSP ਨਹੀਂ ਮਤਲਬ ਇਮੀਡੀਏਟ ਦਾ ਕੰਮ ਤੇ ਫਿਰ SSP ਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਣਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਨਾ।
Perplexingly, the refusal to act was despite the intelligence alert specifically mentioning that Khalistani fringe elements like Sikhs for Justice were also goading crowds to attack the Prime Minister at his rally, even announcing bounties for anyone who succeeded in throwing a shoe at Modi. Listen now as the Ferozepur policeman discloses how the Khalistani angle had been blaring a full 24 hours before the Prime Minister's arrival.
मोदी साहब उत्थे कदों आए? वो आया अज ही टाइम घटाया उतों 12:51 ते आए 52 मिनट ते 12:52 मिनट
52 पे आ गया। आपको एग्जैक्ट एक टाइम याद है?
1:10 ते फिर इथों वापस गए हो।
The testimony could be crucial for the inquiry ahead.
एक बार जस्टिस दा भी लिखिया सीगा सी ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹਨੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੀ ਸ਼ੂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਵਿਖਾਊਗਾ $1 ਲੱਖ अमेरिकी डॉलर में देगा।
अच्छा, ये इनपुट था कि जो पीएम को जूता दिखाएगा उसको।
हाँ, साडी इनपुट थी, आप देखो 3 तरीक दी ਸਾਨੂੰ ਨਾ ਡੀਜੀਪੀ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਚੱਟੋਪਾਧੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਵੀ ਰਿਕਾਰਡ ਬਲੌਕ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਤੇ ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਨੂੰ ਸਿਰਫ ਆਪਾਂ ਸੁਪਰੀਮ ਕੋਰਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੀ ਜਾਣਾ ਤੇ ਮੇਰੀ ਆ ਫਾਈਲ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆਹ ਸੀਮ ਹੀ ਬਣੀ ਬਣਾਈ ਮੇਰੀ ਸੁਪਰੀਮ ਕੋਰਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਹੁੰਚ ਗਈ ਹੈ।
What India Today's special investigation team has been shown is that the Punjab DGP's office evidently refused to or failed to act despite solid, specific, actionable advance intelligence. The question is, why? To dig deeper, our undercover reporters now meet Station House Officer Birbal Singh at the Kulghadi police station in Ferozepur, the frontline officer in charge of the area where the breach took place. At first, Birbal Singh makes a claim, insisting that intelligence did not filter down to the lower levels of the police, where action could have been taken.
ये इंटेलिजेंस भी तो आई होगी कि इस तरीके से। यार मैं बता तो रहा हूँ कि ऐसा कम्युनिकेशन गैप हो गया, एकदम ही हो गया जो हो गया
कि लाइक आपके पैरेलल में एक इंटेलिजेंस लोकल इंटेलिजेंस यूनिट भी काम करती है आपके साथ ही, मतलब पैरेलल में होती है, तो उनकी रिपोर्ट ऐसी नहीं थी कि ऐसा कोई गैदरिंग हो जाएगा, इस तरह से कुछ हो जाएगी?
नहीं, ऐसा कुछ नहीं, मेरे नोटिस में नहीं है।
India Today's undercover reporters press further.
वो क्राउड तो यार ये है ना भाई, एकदम लोगों में रोष है, बैठ गए, उनकी जगह उनकी है, मैं उन्होंने अपनी बात उठा ली, मैं क्या करूं? उनका राइट है। अब हमारे को सरकार ने ये नहीं कहती कि पट्टे मारो या डंडे मारो, हमारे को हुक्म नहीं है।
Birbal Singh's next words are crucial and comprise the first words on election sensitivities.
हमारे को हुक्म दिया हो ना कि इनको डंडे मारो, आंसू गैस छोड़ो, गोलियां मारो, वो तो है नहीं, वो अडामेंट थे, वो बैठ गए, क्या करते ये बात।
Listen to Birbal Singh again, declared that there were zero orders to act against the protesters, something that could have been easily done had there been a clear mandate.
हमारे को हुक्म दिया हो ना कि इनको डंडे मारो, आंसू गैस छोड़ो, गोलियां मारो, वो तो है नहीं, वो अडामेंट थे, वो बैठ गए, क्या करते ये बात।
The stage appeared set for the chaos that followed. The SPG had communicated clearly that the Prime Minister's route needed to be 100% clear under all circumstances. But orders from the top levels of the Punjab government allegedly were that the protesters were not to be acted against. If there had been clear orders, could the situation have been avoided? Listen to Birbal Singh make his predicament clear.
अगर वो होता तो हटा लिया जाता।
फिर तो डिस्पर्सल हो ही जाता। अगर हमारे को ऐसा थोड़ा सख्ती से हम लोग नहीं ले रहे, इलेक्शन है ना, इलेक्शन में किसी को मारपीट नहीं कर सकता।
Either directly or by lack of specific orders, the police was basically primed not to act against the protesters, despite being fully aware that radical elements were part of the protests. Listen to Birbal Singh make his most startling claim yet.
सभी को पता है कि मुखालफत हो रही है किसानों की तरफ से, नहीं जोर से उन्होंने आ गए बात कर ली। अच्छा मैं तो पढ़ा लिखा बंदा हूँ, किसान की कुछ नहीं है, ये रेडिकल जनता है, नाम किसान का लगा लिया उन्होंने। अच्छा है रेडिकल का,
क्या पता कौन था ये, कुछ किसी के माथे पे थोड़ा लिखा ये किसान है,
बस किसान के नाम पे कोई भी इकट्ठा
उनका चल रहा है बस।
Meeting just 2 police officials, India Today's undercover team has uncovered the apparent refusal by Punjab state authorities to act, despite having every single detail they needed to avoid the top-level breach. Even the police admit that election compulsions stayed their hand in a matter concerning the security of India's Prime Minister. But after the 2 police officials, India Today's undercover team meets someone who provides another branch of testimony, for the first time detailing the true nature of the threat to the Prime Minister. Words that make the lapses perhaps even more glaring than first imagined. In an apparent violation of the SPG's protocol, the flyover where the Prime Minister's convoy was stalled for 18 minutes housed a bustling market that had not been shut down. Worse, it included an illegal liquor vend.
जो किसान आए थे वो कहाँ से आए थे? पिंड के नहीं थे? पिंड के तो नेड़े थोड़ा सा कोई है सी, अब कोई है सी। तो आप इधर ही थे? हाँ भाई, दुकान खुली हुई थी आप? दुकान तो पुलिस वालों ने बंद नहीं कराया दुकान? नहीं, किसी ने कुछ नहीं बंद कराया, सारी दुकानें खुली हैं, सारी।
ये वही ब्रिज है जिस पर प्रधानमंत्री की गाड़ी और उनका काफिला करीब 15 मिनट तक खड़ा रहा, और इस सड़क की सुरक्षा की जिम्मेदारी पंजाब पुलिस की थी, फिरोजपुर पुलिस की थी। अब आप इसी से अंदाज़ा लगा लीजिए कि पुलिस को पता था कि यहाँ से प्रधानमंत्री की गाड़ी गुजरने वाली है और पूरा कैवलकेड निकलने वाला है, लेकिन नीचे सारी दुकानें खुली थी, जिसमें ये आप देख रहे हैं कि शराब का ठेका जो सामने है अंडे की दुकान के पीछे चल रहा था, और यहाँ पर पुलिस खड़ी थी और किसी को इस बात से कोई मतलब नहीं था कि इस फ्लाईओवर पर प्रधानमंत्री की गाड़ी खड़ी है और किस तरीके से इस पूरे इलाके को उन्हें सुरक्षित करना है, सेंसिटाइज करना है।
When the Prime Minister's convoy is moving, the route is usually replete with police deployments. But what our undercover reporters now hear take things to a new level. The alleged incitement of villagers to come out to block the route, words directly from the Sarpanch of Pyaregaon village nearby.
उस दिन क्या गुरुद्वारे में भी इन लोगों ने, किसानों ने आवाजें लगाई थी, झगड़ा हो गया,
ये रास्ता रुक गया। हाँ, गुरुद्वारे भाई देखी गई
कि बुलाया गया लोगों को।
हाँ भी उन्होंने आवाज से भी सारे पब्लिक इकट्ठी हो गई।
In other words, not only did the police evidently fail to sanitize the route, but had also failed to intercept the active mobilization of protesters minutes after the Prime Minister's road convoy had begun to roll.
ये ना जेडी जथेबंदी है ना सारी बनी, ये जेडे उतों दे मेन मुखिए बल पिंड दे जी।
बल पिंड?
हाँ, बल पिंडा जीरे दे कोल बल।
अच्छा, ये वहीं से आए थे सारे? हाँ,
उधरों सारे उतों ही आए इकट्ठे होके, उतों जथेबंदी सारी इकट्ठी होके फिर इत्थे आई है। पहले इकट्ठे होए आके भरोसा उत्ते कोई इन्हां दा नहीं बनया सेटिंग भी किवें रोकना में नहीं रोकना या की बनया, उन्हां फिर पुलिस ते आके थी पुलिस भी भज के आके फिर गुरुद्वारे च आवाज दवाई इन्हां ने। यहाँ हाँ, अपने गुरुद्वारे च भी पब्लिक इकट्ठी हो गई।
तो क्या इन्होंने क्या आवाज लगाई, झगड़े हो गए, पीएम आ गया? पीएम आ गया?
नहीं जी नहीं, उन्होंने ये कहा भी जथेबंदियां आके उन्होंने रास्ता रोकया भी साड़ा साफ दो, पब्लिक आके भी सारी किसान यूनियन नो धरना लाया गया तो आके साफ दो सारे।
Listen carefully now as the Sarpanch details how the mobilization played out.
ये कितने देर पहले अनाउंस किया गया था पीएम के आने से?
पीएम दे मिला कोई 10 मिनट का ही फर्क होगा जी। जो आके रुके आ उदों उन्होंने आवाज भज के आके, जो मैं इधरों गए असी दोवें सी, उदों वो 2 लड़के भजे आते सी उधरों, डंडे उन्होंने दे कोल सी, उन्होंने आके बाबे नूं कहा भी आवाज दी, किसान जथेबंदियां आके बह गई साथ दी।
बस उन्होंने आके जो आई थी 10 मिनटों के बाद ही मिल रहा भी पीएम आके रोक गए थे भी जो एक रास्ता रोक गया फिर ट्रैफिक तो लगना ही थी।
4 men, all in the area at the time, all with powers, and all painting a disturbing new picture of the breach. Whether this was a breakdown of command, a colossal intelligence collapse, or an insidious chain reaction driven by political compulsions will be revealed in the Supreme Court monitored investigation. A report by Mohammad Hizbullah and Nitin Jain from India Today's Special Investigation Team.
There are multiple shocking findings in this big India Today special investigation. You've got on camera Sukhdev Singh, the Deputy Superintendent of Police in Ferozepur, who was directly responsible for security in the area, telling us that by 2:20 p.m. messages had been sent to seniors, including the SSP of Ferozepur, that more than 200 farmers had broken the barricade and were sitting on the road that the Prime Minister were to take. Remember, the Prime Minister's cavalcade reached at 2:52 p.m. These 32 minutes are key because what it essentially means is a message being communicated from the local police to seniors in the Punjab Police that the route that the Prime Minister will take has been blockaded. 32 minutes is what the Punjab Police and the SPG had to turn the Prime Minister around, take him back. That didn't happen. This is an unimaginable, shocking, glaring lapse in the security protocol that's been laid out by the Blue Book. That's point number one. Point number two comes from the SHO of the Phuljadi police station. This is the police station which is directly responsible for the jurisdiction of that bridge, where you've got Birbal Singh saying that it appears that these were radicals who were in the garb of farmers, and this is a Punjab police official who's saying so. That's his point of view. I mean, that's what he's saying. That's based on his understanding of the situation. The other thing that he says, which is crucial, is that we did not have orders to remove the protesters. Had we been told that we could have used lathis, tear gas, bullets, we could have cleared the area in no time. He also says that because there are elections, he refers to that because there were elections, you know how it is, you know, during the time of elections, there are certain things we can do, there are things that we're told not to do. So very clearly alluding to how the security response was compromised because of political considerations. So far, there's been a lot of back and forth, tu me between the government and the opposition on this issue. On the Newstrack now, I'm joined by Syed Zafar Islam, Member of Parliament in the Rajya Sabha, National Spokesperson of the BJP, representing the Congress Party government in Punjab. On this broadcast is Aman Pawar. He's a spokesperson of the Congress. I am privileged to have back with us Yashovardhan Azad. Yashovardhan Azad has been in the Intelligence Bureau, he's been in the police, has been responsible for VVIP security movements. OP Singh is back with us. He's been Director General of Police. He's been with the SPG. He also has been responsible for planning prime ministerial visits. So we've got two hardcore security operatives who've been there, done that. And I want to go across first to Yashovardhan Azad. On the basis of what you saw in that India Today investigation, what is your assessment now of the lapses which were at play? Specifics, WhatsApp messages about what time which message was sent. If at 12:20 p.m. you've got the DSP telling the SSP that 200 people have broken through. We know who these people are. They've broken the blockade. They're now on the road. This is the road that the Prime Minister should take. The Prime Minister's cavalcade reaches at 2:52. What do you think happened in those 32 minutes? Who do you hold responsible? Mr. Azad.
Well, I've already pointed it out on your channel. There have been two glaring lapses. One is, of course, at the confrontation point when the police was negotiating only with the protesters. And second, the Prime Minister was brought so near to the confrontation point. As regards the first point is concerned, naturally, the SPs keep getting information about crowds. And once they heard that the crowd had broken through the barricades, there was enough lead time because the carcade was being monitored, the carcade information was reaching where it has reached. All this is always available with the officers on ground. That time it was the job of the collector and the SP Somehow in all these conversations, the role of collector is missed out. He's supposed to be in charge of law and order. If a certain gathering takes place, blocking PM's convoy, it was the job of the collector SP to go, ask them to get out of the place, and if they didn't, they had to use force. Now, what the SHO is talking, he's talking what the collector or SP should be talking. He's talking like a real politician. He's saying that we did not have orders from the top whether to use force or not use force. Rahul, ultimately, it all comes down to that basic question. Can sanctity of democratic protest be allowed to the point that any one protester can gherav Prime Minister or President anywhere, and you cannot remove them because of fear of violence? That is also true that the government would not have wanted to use violence against Kisans. So that is the first glaring lapse, and it is with the police leadership over there and the collector that they dithered in clearing. But the second point also is very important, because when this gathering was taking place almost 2 hours before, and they were informed, the SPG and Rahul, in the carcade itself, there are representatives from the center, representatives of the state, and along with the SPG to help him make a decision. Once the information was received, the carcade should not have proceeded. It should have been temporarily safe housed, as it were, so that it does not reach that point of confrontation. So these are the two serious lapses which the inquiry committee has to look into. And it's pretty straightforward that in the first case, action was not taken. And in the second case, again, there was dithering. It was not, enforced upon. All three should have gone to the Prime Minister, informed him that, sir, we are reaching a danger area and we have to safe house you here. That is the second.
Okay, so let's take it one by one. I want to go across to OP Singh as well. You've got the DSP of Ferozepur giving specific information, showing us the messages that he sent to the SSP of the area, revealing how many people were on the road breaking the blockade, and somehow there is no sense of urgency. PM aa rahe, baithe. I don't understand this. This is a direct violation of everything that's laid down in the security protocols laid out by the Blue Book.
Absolutely, Rahul. What I heard and what your underground staffers have done it, it's very clear that there has been a total
complete breakdown of law and order machinery at the local level, also at the state level. And I'll be talking about the lack of coordination in slightly detailed manner later. But first of all, we must be very clear that once we have established that the primary role of the state government or the state police is to maintain law and order, to protect the VIP, whosoever is coming in its jurisdiction, what we heard right now is that every single detail was shared with the various agencies. In fact, advance intelligence was given with all the authorities 3 days in advance. And not only that, the roads needed to be sanitized, the roads needed to be sealed, but it was not done. So all details were discussed. And I'm sure it must have been discussed either with the SPG or with all the other agencies during the ASL. But what is more important is that the lack of professionalism, which perhaps was not there at the local level. You expect the SHO to behave in this manner, that unless you get the order, why do you need an order to do that? You have the duty to do it. If there is a program of the Prime Minister, which was well in advance and it was already communicated to the state government, whether you have the election or no election, it's a very, very tough program. It's a very...
No, you're blaming program. The SHO, sir, but with respect, the SHO will say, I told the DSP will say, I told the SSP, the SSP will say, I informed the DGP, Rahul, how does it work like that?
No, Rahul, I'm not blaming the SHO. I'm blaming the entire police machine. I'm blaming the police machinery, right from SHO till the last. I mean, how can you expect the entire chain of command, as you rightly said, that there has been a total breakdown of chain of command. Nobody is taking any action at all. First of all, the PM's convoy has already been communicated that an alternative route is being taken. And to that extent, nothing is being done. The road was not sanitized. There was no professional deployment of the police force. There was no police presence there. So what I say is that there is a complete breakdown of the chain of command. Nobody is trying to act the way they should have acted. And the most important thing is that it's an act, it's a failure of intelligence as well. As Mr. Azad clearly pointed out, that you have various levels of intelligence. You have the local intelligence unit.
No, but how is it a failure of intelligence? On the 2nd of January, 3 days before the Prime Minister came, the DSP Ferozepur is saying that there is information that the BKS pool group is going to try and enter where the Prime Minister will be. There are advance warnings that are given that there is, you might not know specifically where they will come and when, but that there is trouble building in the area seems to have been known at least 3 days in advance.
Absolutely. So what I'm saying is that during the ASL and when it was decided that the Prime Minister would take an alternate route, he will be undertaking a road journey. At that time, a proper assessment of the intelligence should have been done. The congregation of the crowd should have been anticipated by the police officers, by the police leaders, either at the district level or at the local level, and something could have been done. How can you expect the political compulsions, that too during the elections, to dictate the terms? It's a total lack of professionalism on the part of the police officials, maybe at the senior level, maybe at the state level, but whatever it is, you could not visualize the radicals in the garb of farmers, and you are expecting the orders to come to remove them. So I think that this is a complete failure of the police administration.
Okay. So Aman Pawar from the Congress party, the Birbal Singh testimony is crucial. He was responsible directly for the security of the area from where the cavalcade went. He says that, but there are elections. You know how it is during elections. If we'd been told to act, we could have, and yet somehow the state apparatus did not give a very clear direction to the local police to act. And this, sir, happened on your watch, and for this, the Punjab state government is responsible.
Rahul, as far as the security of the Honorable Prime Minister is concerned, there is no doubt it is of paramount importance. We are a country which has lost a sitting Prime Minister, Srimati Indira Gandhi, and a former Prime Minister, Shri Rajiv Gandhi, due to security concerns. And there is no question that the Prime Minister's security can be second to anything else. Having said that, it should not be the job of the media or BJP or anybody else to paint as if the Prime Minister is only the Prime Minister of the BJP and not of the entire country. He is my Prime Minister too. Now, in this particular case, while there were security concerns, that's why the Prime Minister had chosen to take the aerial route for his program, his tour program in Punjab. Last minute, yes, there were security lapses.
So you're giving a rhetorical answer to a specific question. Sukhdev Singh, the DSP, says that at 2:20 p.m. we said that 200 people had broken the blockade, and yet it wasn't ensured that the Prime Minister's cavalcade turned back. This should have been very clearly communicated by the state police to the SPG.
Of course, it was communicated. Everything was being regularly communicated to the SPG, and that's how it happens that when a VVIP visits a state. Now, in this particular case, the Supreme Court has already set up a special inquiry headed by a former Supreme Court judge. And we, as the state of Punjab, and I'm also an advocate for the state of Punjab in the Supreme Court, we had categorically told the Honorable Chief Justice that we are all in for a free and fair inquiry. And this should not be done by the central government, but by an officer of the court.
No, but what explains the fact that the shops which are right there... One second, sir. There are basic failures. No, Aman Pawar. No, sir. There are basic failures for which the Punjab government needs to account. There are shops, liquor vents. There are liquor vents, sir. First and foremost, I'm not coming out with the verdict. Okay, it's for the investigating authorities. It's for the Supreme Court to come.
That's why
I'm pointing out to you. No, one second. Because what we've got is a back and forth, charges and counter charges. I'm asking you, Aman Pawar, a very straight question. That there was a liquor vent which was open. There were shops that were open right next to where the cavalcade was to pass from. How is that permissible? These are basic shocking lapses.
Rahul, my question to you is that in September 2017, when the Prime Minister was in Varanasi, he stopped his cavalcade for a group of 500 women who were protesting against sexual assault and assault against women in UP. He got out of his car, met them, and there was no alarm raised at that point of time. The BJP itself, the national handle of the BJP on Twitter, tweets in September 2018 that see our Prime Minister is traveling without any security, without any VIP route in Delhi. That's how a Prime Minister should be. I don't understand that why this kind of a rhetoric when it comes to a state where the BJP is not in power. Is it because the rally which the Prime Minister was going to, that had a very, very poor show? They could not even fill 1,000 seats of a stadium, of a venue which had a capacity of more than 1 lakh people. And he turned back. The second question is that when, if at all, there was a security breach, and that is for the Supreme Court to investigate. Now, when the security breach happened, why did the SPG let the Prime Minister's car
let me put that question to Sayyid Zafar
Why did the SPG let the Prime Minister's car be there for 18 minutes? Why did they not turn back?
That's a good point, because there are two parts to this, Sayyid Zafar Islam. One is the lapses on the part of the Punjab Police, which I have dealt with. Secondly, the SPG is being informed that protesters are on the road. The SPG is hoping that the road will be cleared. It isn't. The question that the SPG needs to answer is, why didn't they just turn back? As Yashowardhan Azad says, why didn't they put the Prime Minister in a safe house? At 12:20 at least, the DSP is telling you that there are protesters on the road, they've broken through the blockade. The Prime Minister reaches only at 12:52. He stays till 1:10 p.m. Why for those 18-20 minutes is the Prime Minister exposed to such hostile elements? Why didn't the cavalcade turn back?
Rahul, I heard Baldev Singh and many others, your investigation team have recorded. And now it is out in open very clearly that it is the handiwork of the state administration with the clear guidance and direction from the political masters. When I was on your program a few days ago, I did tell that it amounts to treason, purely because the state administration, at the behest of the Chief Minister and many other political parties, part of the political parties in Congress party in the state of Punjab, must have directed state DGP to do what he has done. Because if a DSP is informing the SP or the SHO is informing the DSP and DSP to SSP, there will be some method to madness. Somebody will act. Not everybody, unless there is a specific instruction from the top not to act.
No, that is where that Birbal Singh comment about elections. You know how it is during elections. चुनाव का मौसम है. What are we supposed? अगर नहीं होता तो हम हटा. That is where Aman Pawar, that comment becomes crucial. So, that the whole sense is that there are elections, and therefore, I know we're jeopardizing the Prime Minister's security. I know his cavalcade is being confronted with hostile elements. Some of these could potentially also be radicals. What do we do? पर क्या करें? चुनाव है. That's the problem. That seems to have been one of the issues at play over here, Aman Pawar.
See, Rahul, that's my question. Firstly, they were protesters. They in this particular scenario, I totally agree that they should have been removed, and that is why we had set up an inquiry. Now we have told the Supreme Court that please inquire, and we had also removed the SSP. But it is completely shameful and bizarre to say that there was treason or there was a ploy to harm the security arrangements of the Prime Minister. I mean, this is stooping down to another level. If that is the case, then the BJP must answer that when the Prime Minister in other states, in Uttar Pradesh, in Madhya Pradesh, when he gets out of his cavalcade to meet the BJP workers or to meet the protesters there, they do not call it a security breach.
Okay.
Why?
So
because in Punjab.
Let Sayyid Zafar Islam respond to it. Maybe the Punjab police was incompetent, but they weren't complicit. They weren't malicious. They weren't sinister. It is just a case of the administration being incompetent, not doing their job properly.
See, Rahul, the other day when we didn't had the opportunity to see those videos which you had just shown to all of us, all your viewers, perhaps we were speculating at that point of time. But today there is absolutely no headroom for any speculation. It is loud and clear that it was the instruction which was given by the state, by the Chief Minister and maybe some other political leaders to the state DGP, and the DGP in turn has given such instruction because It is in the Supreme Court now, and it will be investigated, and you will get the clarity that the DGP had given clearance to SPG, and that's when the Prime Minister motorcade.
Do you find it odd, OP
moving.
Singh, that there are liquor vends and shops on the side of the route that the Prime Minister is to take, and nobody bothers shutting them down? They're just going on, and I don't know, I'm not certain, but it looks like an illegal liquor vend. It doesn't look like a proper liquor shop. It looks like a theka. It's there and nobody seems to have shut it down, and other shops are open too, and the shopkeeper saying, "Hum to wahi khade the, hame to kisi ne bola nahi band karne ko." Is that surprising?
It could be surprising.
Rahul, can I just add 10 seconds, please, and then Mr. OP Singh will speak. 10 seconds.
Program.
See, when you are raising this question, I must also add, last time also I told you that when the Prime Minister visits even BJP headquarters, all of us have to come out of our room, because SPG doesn't allow us to be in our room unless we have been frisked, we have been checked, a room has been sanitized, and we have been given the
let OP Singh speak.
Card,
Mr. Singh,
clearance card. Then only we can even go to.
Mr. Islam, this is BJP.
Okay, Aman Pawar, this conversation will get derailed. Let OP Singh speak, please. Mr. Singh.
In a scheduled visit of the Prime Minister, we take all kinds of precautions. We have a very well-established drills. We have everything done in a very robust manner. But here there was one catch, that the Prime Minister was undertaking a very surprise road journey. But we must say that there was a good 30 minutes or 35 minutes time given to the state administration, to the local police, to clear everything. And the route was already discussed, the alternate route was already discussed, the contingency plan must have been discussed during the ASL. So if the proper deployment would have been there, if some sort of alacrity was there on the part of the police administration, particularly at the district level, perhaps these shops could have been shut, could have been closed, because you have sufficient time to take action, sufficient time to take preemptive actions to do all this. But in a normal scheduled visit, you do all these things. But in a surprise, maybe that certain routes cannot be sanitized fully, because it stretches to almost more than 100
So there are two parts to this, Yashovardhan Azad. One is the fact that the state police failed to act. The high command in the state police administration did not give the right orders. The other is, okay, so you know that now there are protesters who are blockading the road. If you're in the SPG, should you not keep your HYT, your high value target, away from harm's way? So instead of just going straight into the area where there's a blockade, where you know that 200, 250 farmers are sitting on the road, you know in that general area there is trouble, isn't it also the responsibility of the SPG to just turn around and say, no, Mr. Prime Minister, Mr. Principal, we can't take this risk. There are protesters out there, we need to take you back.
You're right. I've already mentioned this point, but just a minute. Let me go on to the first point. I don't think there is a clear word from the High Command. Which High Command will say that if the protesters are blocking the road, you just negotiate and you don't remove them? That's not true. I think we are absolving the local district authorities of the responsibility. It is the collector and the SP who are supposed to know the area very well. They know all the people of that area, all the gentlemen who come, because they always come for some work or the other. And that is why when you have intelligence before, you're supposed to beg, cajole, or ultimately use force to remove them. So, in this entire exercise, just saying that SSP has been removed is a wrong thing. The entire responsibility for taking action is on the collector and the SP.
No, but can I also show you what Charanjit Singh Channi, the Punjab Chief Minister, said when we asked him about the role of the state administration? Did they tell them not to use force against the farmers? Let's just listen to what the Chief Minister says.
ये रूट रोकना अलग बात है, लाइफ को खतरा होना अलग बात है। मैं पॉलिटिकल आदमी हूँ, मैं सीएम भी हूँ। अब आगे कोई 10 आदमी एकदम आकर बैठ जाएंगे, उनको प्यार से हटा दिया जाएगा। अचानक एक गांव, वहाँ सड़क के ऊपर गांव है, 10 आदमी आकर गांव के सड़क पे बैठ गए, हमें पहले पता चल गया 1 किलोमीटर, हम वापस आ गए, तो मेरी जान को खतरा कहाँ है?
Okay, so this investigation is already viraling. There's a big buzz on social media. We're getting a flood of responses. It's created a big stir in political circles on both sides of the divide. what we've tried to do is be as factual as possible. What you've heard are comments from the DSP of Ferozepur, the Deputy Superintendent of Police, who's directly responsible for that area. He's talking about how they were receiving advance warnings from the 2nd of January that there'd be trouble on this road and that this was shared with the state brass. What you've heard also is that at least 32 minutes before the Prime Minister came, specific information that the blockade had been broken, that farmers had barged through and were now holding that road or blocking that road was shared with seniors in the police administration, and yet somehow shockingly instructions aren't given to clear that area out and to send the farmers packing. It wasn't done. Also, questions about why the cavalcade didn't just turn. Why would you bring someone whose life is as much in danger as the Prime Minister in an area where there are clearly people who seem hostile right into the place where the blockades happened? A call to turn around and move back should have been taken much earlier. There are glaring lapses, and as I said, our aim is not to play judge and jury because there have been back and forth denials, charges. We thought, let's hear from those officials who were directly responsible, the Sarpanch, the DSP, the SHO of that area, and also the shopkeepers who say, yeah, we have a theka. And I just heard from my reporter, it's a completely illegal theka. It looks like an illegal theka, you just saw it. It's a completely illegal theka, and yet nobody shuts it down. You've got people milling around there. And you also heard, which again needs to be probed, from the SHO of Puljadi, who says that some of them were radicals in the garb of farmers. If that is true, that is dangerous, patently dangerous, which should have been dealt with far better than it actually was. What the Supreme Court does is something we'll monitor very closely. You will hear a lot more about this investigation. There will be lots of back and forth, further investigation, more probes, reactions. We'll bring you all of those. I'm slipping into a break. More on the other side. Stay with us.